Good morning everyone. Myself Lakshmi Meena, Assistant Professor English from Government College Chamila, Telangana. You are welcome in my YouTube channel. Today we will study a prayer for my daughter. The poem of W. Yeats. Yesterday we have Yesterday we had studied the half part of the poem. Today we will study the next part of the poem. May she be granted beauty and yet not beauty to make strangers' eye distort or hers before a looking glass for such. Be made beautiful over much, consider beauty as sufficient and lose natural kindness, and maybe the heart revealing intimacy that chooses right and never find a friend. Helen being chosen found life flat and dull, and later had much trouble from a cold, while that great queen that rose out of the spray, being fatherless could have her way, yet chose a bandy-legged smith for man. It is certain that fine women eat a crazy sloth with their meat, whereby the horn of plenty is undone. See the explanation of this stanza. The lines have been taken from its poem, A Prayer of My Daughter. In this poem, it prays to God to save his daughter from many an evil of the present civilization. The poet foresees the end of the present civilization, which is scientific, democratic, fact accumulating, heterogeneous civilization. In this civilization, there is anarchy and lawlessness. Therefore, the poet is gloomy and anxious to protect his child from the wrath of the coming cruel tides. Yet, prays to solicit for his infant child a life of beauty. He prays that his daughter should be gifted with beauty, but he does not want that this beauty should make his daughter proud and cruel. Generally, it happens that exceptionally beautiful women used to regard beauty as a complete end in its life. They forget that beauty is conducive to the happiness of life. Beautiful, proud women forget their natural feminine quality, such as kindness, shyness. They fail to respond to the advances of even their sincere lovers. Therefore, they untimely fail to find a suitable life partner. Therefore, it's wants that this beautiful daughter should never be proud of her beauty. It cites his examples to explain his point. He gives examples from history and legend of beautiful women who suffered greatly. Helen of Troy was a great beauty. She found her life monotonous and dull, and later she had much trouble on account of a foolish lover. Likewise, the great beauty Queen Venus, who sprang from the womb of the Shah and who, being fatherless, could have her way, choose a lamb as Ernest Smith for her husband. It is now evident that great beauties eat with their food such sloth of pride and make them crazy. And by their craziness, their maternal happiness is ruined. Thus, the image of Helen evokes that of Venus, and her union with Hephaestus evokes the memory of the equally unsuitable Maud Macrobride union. ठीक है. Next, the past is thus linked up with the present, and the personal with the impersonal. The scope of the poem is thus widened, and large vistas are opened to the mind's eye. The poet father does not want that his own daughter should be an extremely beautiful woman like Helen of Troy. The poet's own experiences with Maud Gonne make these lines doubly personal. The image of Helen evokes another figure, Aphrodite, who rose out of spray. The union of Aphrodite with Hephaestus, the Bentley Leslie Smith, leads at us to the Maud Gonne marriage. This makes the image cluster rich and complex. Now see the take notes of this stanza. The lines give examples of extremely beautiful women like Helen, who not only suffers much but was the cause of much suffering to others and the Greek goddess. Aphrodite, who is supposed to have arisen from the sea but married a bandy-legged smith. Helen was bored and troubled by a fool, and the great queen repented after her marriage with a bandy-legged smith. The poet thinks that beautiful women are silly, so that their happiness suffers. The poet therefore prays to God not to make his daughter so beautiful as to make her vain and proud. While making this prayer, the poet has in mind the proud and obstinate Orgone and how she rejected the poet's passionate and devoted love. Now see the next stanza. In courtesy I have had her cheaply learned. Hearts are not had as a gift, but hearts are craned by those that are not entirely beautiful. Yet many that have played the fool for beauty's very self has charm made wise, and many a poor man that has loved and though himself beloved from a great kindness cannot take this which has. May she become a fluttering hidden trees that all her thought may like the linnet be and have no business but dispensing round their magnanimities of sound, nor but in merriment begin a jest, nor but in merriment a quarrel, or may she lie like some green laurel rooted in one dear perpetual place. See the explanation of the lines. These lines are from W. Yeats' poem entitled A Prayer for My Daughter. The poet father prays for his daughter Annie Butler Yeats. The poet is very anxious for the safety and well-being of his newborn child in a world naughty and anarchic. The child is sleeping innocently through a howling storm. The great problem in his mind is how to protect the innocent child from the wrath of the anarchic world. The poet becomes gloomy and prays for his daughter. The poet wants his daughter to have beauty, but not so much beauty as to make her proud. The poet gives examples from history and legend of our beautiful women who suffered much themselves and also caused great suffering to others because of their pride and vanity. Next, the poet prays that his daughter may be particularly gifted with courtesy, for hearts of lovers are not taken as a gift by those who are not fully beautiful. Lovers' hearts are won by them by virtue of their good manners. Beauty was its own power indeed, yet the charm of courtesy has also made wise many lovers who have played the fool for the exceptional physical beauty of their beloveds. Many poor lovers of physical beauty who have wandered in their beloveds' dreamlands loved them passionately. Next, and thou thought their sweethearts also loved them, have been found unable to take their eyes off the face of a kind and courteous woman. The poet wishes to say that charming manners are more important for a woman than more physical beauty. a good-mannered, sweet-tempered lady speaking kind words to everybody around her attracts all. The poet then prays that his daughter's hidden soul may flourish like a tree, and that her thoughts may be as innocent and cheerful as the innate woods. He also prays that her soul may have no business other than that of speaking words of courtesy to those around it. Out of her innocent and cheerful thoughts, she may not take a drink or start a quarrel except for the sake of fun. He also wishes her to love like a green laurel, having her roots in perpetual aristocratic tradition and courtesy. The poet considers a life rooted in tradition a happy life, and so wishes that her life should be rooted in one place and tradition. Like a rural tree, such a fixity in place and tradition would result in the maximum of happiness for her. The poet prays for the daughter that she may become a flourishing hidden laurel tree symbolizing peace and prosperity. She should be magnanimous and of good manners, and she should play a part only in merriment.